Good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we hop into it, we just want to anchor and thank everyone for joining our discussion on revolutionizing assessments and driving research insights. Before we get into the conversation, I would love to have our panel introduce themselves, share their title, and what brought them here today. So I'll first turn it over to Dana.
Thank you, Ray. Good afternoon, I'm Dana Bryson. I'm the Senior Vice President of Social Impact at Study.com, and thrilled to talk about this partnership today with the two of you.
And my name is Paul Gollash. I'm the VP of K-12 Solutions at ETS, and it's a pleasure to be here with both of you.
Awesome, and my name is Ray Fields. I'm the Chief Talent Officer for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. We're gonna dive into a lot of conversation as it relates to what does it look like to diversify, strengthen the educator workforce with resources and supports. And I actually want to make sure that I ask the questions correctly, so please forgive me if you see me take a look at the sheet to my side. So for the first question is for Paul. There's a lot of conversation around what is it going to take to make sure that we provide sound solutions to tackle the education of the future workforce. It starts with our teachers, as we know. What is ETS doing specifically via the Praxis program to serve the students, the future educators, to tackle this problem?
Yeah, I think the future of work is one of the most sort of daunting and complex topics to deal with. And at least from my perspective, almost regardless of what the future of work looks like, the young people of today and of tomorrow are gonna need incredible educators. Teachers are really the force multipliers, and the impact that just one teacher can have, I mean, they impact thousands of people, you know, throughout their careers. And I think we need to really put we need to focus on this incredibly daunting problem where there's a lack of quantity and a lack of diversity in our educator pipeline. So at Praxis, we've been around for 50 years. We're sort of the gold standard of measuring content knowledge for educators. And we feel like that's starting from a position of strength, and the work that we do we feel like is necessary but not sufficient. The educator pipeline is evolving in a really interesting way. There's more inroads into the profession. The classroom instructional model is in flux, and different types of professionals are needed to do a good job and get the outcomes that we need for our students. And we think that we can, by changing Praxis from a single moment in time assessment to more of an ecosystem that supports educators along their career journey, pre-service through to in-service. We can help sort of some of the dislocation that we see between educator prep programs, the districts and schools that need teachers, and we're gonna just continue to endeavor to offer more and more teacher supports until this, like I said, this very vexing problem is resolved.
I appreciate that, Paul. And even thinking about my own experience as a former educator entering as through an alt program, those resources and supports are so necessary. I'd love to pivot the question over to Dana. Would love to hear more about what's happening at Study.com. So can you share Study.com's approach to working with educator preparation programs of all types to boost and diversify the teacher talent pipeline, and strategies to support state system-wide impact for districts to recruit and to retain high-quality educators?
I can.
All right.
So a couple years ago, Study.com created a national program called Keys to the Classroom. And this was a donation-based program where we worked to donate about 10,000 licenses to alternative pathway programs. We were focused on creating a more diverse and representative educator pipeline. And so about more than 60% of the folks in the program identified as a person of color, 72% were first generation, and surprisingly, about 70% were currently working in a school district or on an emergency credential. And what we saw as a result of these folks entered in the program was increased pass rates. If you engaged with 100% of the test prep material, you would pass at 92%. We also saw that for first-time test takers, the pass rate was 76%, so about 26% ahead of the average. So we started really digging into not just the recruitment, but also the retention piece, because why were so many of these educators working in a district, or on an emergency credential. And that's really where this partnership with ETS that we announced in February and continue today, we have another announcement in a minute, is really focused on this retention piece and working inside systems, working with chief talent officers like yourself and state departments of education and district leaders to increase transparency about what's needed for these educators on their path. So to really create this closed loop system to help the alternative pathway programs and ultimately the teacher cadets going through them.
Love that. So there's a conversation around evolution. There's a conversation around resources and supports. Thinking along those lines, want to talk more about this buzzword AI. So AI has been the buzzword of the last several years, and it seems to be a part of every conversation we have today in education. How are ETS and Study.com leveraging AI in the work? And how are you all doing it together?
Well, I can start with from the measurement standpoint, and then I'll let Dana talk about from the prep and support standpoint. But ETS was actually pretty early to AI. Predated ChatGPT by decades. We've used AI to score a lot of our high-scale, high-stakes assessments. But obviously, it's, as I said earlier, it's moving pretty fast. And the next frontier for us is AI-generated content. So we're able to basically get significantly more test material, test items, using AI-generated content. And that enables us to, without increasing the burden on teachers, extract more meaningful data signals and get more insights, which will in turn be valuable for the hiring, the bodies, the districts and the schools that are feeling the real pain. And one of the awesome parts of the partnership with Study.com, their product, it was sort of AI born and is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, it wouldn't be a GSV panel if we didn't talk about AI. What I can say is there is adaptive learning, machine learning in all of our test prep products. But the other thing that we have at Study.com is that we've got 1 million people a day that come to the site. We've got 8 years of data. So we have our own data that we can overlay on test takers, quiz behavior, like what videos they're watching, where they're interacting, where they're getting stuck, and we bring that into our materials. So we have an announcement to make today. And today's announcement is that we have partnered together to create and lay out today a free Praxis Core prep with AI for all Praxis Core users, period. So this is available today on the ETS website. It is AI enabled, and let me tell you just a little bit about it. We know from working with directors of programs and thousands of students that students study what they know, not what they need to know. And so we designed, in partnership with ETS, a diagnostic tool that really finds out what does the student know and where do they need to study. We then use AI to give the areas of highest need. You can plug in your test date and how much time you plan to study, and it will build a plan for you. So time is a big issue for students. They're cramming, like many of us are cramming to get things done, and so this is really saving time. And we're really happy to be announcing this today. The other thing that our underlying curriculum does is that it doesn't just provide quizzes and practice test questions, but it teaches the underlying material, the concepts. So for so many on these alternative pathway programs, they were a pharmacist or they were a gardener and now they want to go back, or they were paraprofessionals, they want to get into the classroom. They don't remember quadrilaterals. Is that even a thing? Quadratic equation. Maybe I don't remember it. So it teaches that our AI knows where you're struggling and will take you back to the underlying concepts and curriculum that really support the learners to learn the material and then serve up the test questions. So we're really thrilled about it. And I have a question for you.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Flipping the script here.
Yeah.
You're the Chief Talent Officer, Pennsylvania Department of Education, and you have been in a lot of roles in education. With what we have talked about here, and we've talked about the past couple weeks around this partnership, where is the need? What are you most excited about? What are the things we need to be looking for, the questions we need to be asking to make sure we're remembering why we're here, which is to support diverse educators and that spark around being a teacher?
Yeah, I appreciate that question so much. Every conversation that I've had with the both of you in your respective spaces is that it remains human-centric, it remains educator-centric, and the data that you're going to be able to pull and to ascertain as it relates to the educator workforce will allow people in my role to advocate, to request the resources, to provide legislators the rationale behind the need for supports. But to know that this is coming at a space and a place and a time where we are thinking about how do we evolve and how do we grow the workforce, I'm excited about this partnership, and then I'm excited to be able to connect with your respective spaces to say, here's what we're noticing. Another piece that really excites me about this conversation is that we're talking about those from marginalized identities. I am a first-generation high school, college graduate that entered a teacher alt program. If I had the opportunity to engage with these types of supports and resources, maybe I would not have had to take the test multiple times over. And to know that we're removing those barriers and providing the supports and the resources for future educators, specifically those who may come from a background similar to my own, speaks volumes. So I'm excited about this partnership. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're excited, and we would love any and all feedback that we can get. You are in the trenches every single day. So in many ways, we're doing this for you and people like you.
Thank you.
I think we're all super aligned in getting higher quality and a more diverse educator pipeline.
Thank you, thank you. Any final thoughts, Dana or Paul, as we get ready to close out this conversation?
I mean, I guess what I would say is, if you are a district leader or running a program or working in a state Department of Education or with talent, we want your feedback. We want to hear what you need. We want to hear what's working. We're going to be building out a research agenda to try to look at what some of the barriers are with specific populations, and we want input in it. We don't have all of the answers. We want to know what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. So for whoever's hearing this or whoever's watching the video, get in touch. We want to know your experience. So.
I would just echo that. The best products and services are developed in conjunction with all of the stakeholders that are feeling the pain points that we're trying to solve. So the more people that we can get involved in this initiative, I think the combination of study with incredibly high quality instructional materials and Praxis, ETS with our measurement prowess, that's a good start, but that's not enough. It's going to take it's going to take a movement to fix this problem, and anyone who is even remotely interested in the profession, please come see us.
As we close out, I want to echo Dana and Paul's sentiment. The call to action, what we see with this partnership with ETS and Study.com is providing resources and supports to really think through how do we build a stronger educator pipeline. So what can you do within your respective spaces? How do you leverage the data? How do you make sure that you're sharing about the trends as we strengthen the workforce, the educator workforce, through the utilization of this platform is going to be key. So our call to action to everyone in this space is to continue to lift and to name the supports and the resources that are being provided through this partnership with ETS and Study.com, and continue to make sure that you advocate on behalf of a stronger, diverse educator pipeline. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much to our panelists, Dana and Paul. And
thank you, Ray.
We are so appreciative.